one of the most controversial anime ever made, is rated higher than your favorite shonen. These shows didn't just push boundaries, they pushed censorship to the absolute limit. Some shocked the industry, some were restricted, and some nearly disappeared entirely. And before we go any further, this is not for kids. If you're underage, this isn't your battlefield. If you're an adult, maybe lower the volume and make sure nobody walks in. At number 10, we have Redo of Healer. In a world of magic, kingdoms, and heroes, healers are supposed to stand behind the front lines. But Kaoru was never treated like a hero. Gifted with powerful healing abilities, he was drugged, manipulated, and abused by the very party he supported. Everything changes when he unlocks the ability to rewind time. Instead of escaping his fate, he goes back to the beginning with all his memories intact and starts rewriting the world in his favor. What makes Redo of Healer different is not just its explicit content, it's the revenge structure. This is not a redemption story. It's a calculated revenge fantasy where the protagonist uses intelligence, patience, and cruelty to dismantle the people who destroyed him. The time rewind mechanic adds strategic tension, and the psychological angle makes it more than just shock value. Whether people hate it or defend it, it's impossible to ignore. At number 9, we have The Testament of Sister New Devil. The story follows Basara Tujo, a seemingly normal high school student, whose world flips overnight when his father suddenly remarries and leaves him with two new stepsisters, Mio and Maria Naruse. But this is not an ordinary family setup. Mio is actually a fledgling demon lord, and Maria is her loyal succubus attendant. When they attempt to form a magical master-servant contract for protection, something goes wrong and the contract reverses, placing Basara in the dominant position instead. What makes The Testament of Sister New Devil stand out is how it blends high-stakes supernatural battles with extremely bold ecchi elements. Beneath the fanservice-heavy presentation, there is a full demon versus hero faction conflict, political tension within the underworld, and Basara's own hidden power that slowly unfolds. The series became widely known for its uncensored Blu-ray versions, and the way it pushed the limits of what late-night anime would allow, making it one of the most talked-about action ecchi titles of its era. At number 8, we have To Love Ru. The story follows Rito Yuki, a painfully shy high school student who cannot even confess to his crush, Haruna Serenji. His normal teenage life completely collapses when Lala Sadalin Devaluk, an alien princess escaping an arranged marriage, suddenly appears in his bathroom and declares she wants to marry him. From that moment on, Rito is dragged into intergalactic politics, chaotic misunderstandings, and an ever-growing circle of girls, both human and alien, who somehow end up involved in his life. What makes To Love Ru special is not just the fan service. It perfected the accidental comedy formula. The misunderstandings are constant, the timing is absurd, and the situations escalate in ways that feel almost mathematically designed for chaos. Despite the outrageous setups, the series balances light romance, sci-fi absurdity, and long-running character arcs, which is why it became one of the most recognizable harem franchises in anime history. At number 7, we have Mysterious Girlfriend X, also known as Nazo no Kanojo X. The story follows Akira Tsubaki, a regular high school boy whose life takes a strange turn when he meets Mikoto Urabe, a quiet and socially distant transfer student with very unusual habits. After an odd incident involving her drool left on a desk, the two form a bizarre emotional bond that lets them sense each other's feelings and physical states, pushing their relationship into a deeply unconventional romantic direction. What makes this anime stand out is how unapologetically weird yet sincere it is. Instead of typical fan service chaos, it focuses on psychological intimacy, awkward teenage attraction, and emotional dependency in a way that feels both unsettling and oddly heartfelt, which is exactly why it still sparks curiosity and debate among anime fans. At number 6, we have Interspecies Reviewers. Set in a fantasy world filled with multiple intelligent species, The story follows adventurers Stunk, the elf Zell, and the angel Krimvile as they travel from town to town reviewing different establishments run by various monster races. Their goal is simple but controversial. Compare experiences and publish reviews to debate which species offers the most appealing companionship, leading to constant arguments, unexpected discoveries, and plenty of outrageous situations. What makes this anime stand out is how openly it satirizes fantasy tropes and adult themes at the same time. Instead of hiding its premise, it leans fully into comedy, world building, and cultural differences between species. That bold approach, mixed with heavy censorship debates and platform removals, is exactly why it became one of the most talked about and divisive anime releases in recent years. At number 5, we have The Fruit of Grisaia, originally titled Grisaia no Kajitsu. The story centers on Yuji Kazami, a calm and highly skilled transfer student who enrolls in Mahama Academy, an isolated school that feels more like a controlled facility than a normal campus. Expecting an ordinary life, Yuji instead discovers that he is the only male student among 5 girls, each carrying severe psychological trauma and painful secrets from their past. What makes The Fruit of Grisaia stand out is its shift in tone. It begins like a typical harem setup, but gradually transforms into a heavy psychological drama. Each character arc dives deep into themes like abuse, guilt, survival, and identity, giving the story emotional weight far beyond surface-level fan service. The combination of dark backstories, strategic storytelling, and Yuji's morally complex personality is what separates it from standard ecchi or romance series and gives it lasting impact. At number 4, we have Shimonetta, A Boring World, where the concept of dirty jokes doesn't exist, also known as Shimoseika. Set in a dystopian version of Japan, the government enforces the law for public order and morals in healthy child raising, which completely bans vulgar language, sexual references, and any form of lewd material. Citizens are forced to wear monitoring devices called peacemakers that track their speech and behavior, instantly flagging anything considered inappropriate. Society becomes artificially pure, but completely hollow. What makes Shimonetta special is how it disguises sharp social satire inside outrageous comedy. Beneath the absurd jokes and over-the-top rebellion is a critique of extreme censorship and forced morality. The show constantly pushes boundaries, not just for shock, but to question how far control over speech and expression should go. That balance of chaotic humor and commentary is why it became both controversial and unexpectedly smart. At number 3, we have High School of the Dead. When a sudden global zombie apocalypse known as the Outbreak throws society into chaos, a group of high school students, including Takashi Komuro, along with their school nurse Shizuka Marikawa, are forced to fight their way through a collapsing Japan. What begins as a desperate escape from their school quickly turns into a brutal survival journey through a world where trust, morality, and authority no longer exist. What makes High School of the Dead stand out is its unapologetic blend of intense action and exaggerated fan service layered over genuine survival tension. It does not pretend to be subtle. It leans fully into high-stakes combat, dramatic character conflicts, and the psychological strain of living in a lawless world. Beneath the chaos, it explores how quickly civilization falls apart and how people change when survival becomes the only rule. That extreme mix of violence, style, and controversy is exactly why it remains one of the most iconic zombie anime ever made. At number 2, we have High School DxD. The story follows Issei Hyodo, an openly perverted high school student whose life ends on his very first date when he is killed by a fallen angel. But that is only the beginning. He is revived as a devil by Rias Gremory, a powerful and elite demon noble who also happens to be the most admired girl in school, now bound to serve her in the occult research club. Issei is pulled into a hidden world of devils, angels, and fallen angels battling for power behind the scenes. What makes High School DxD stand out is how confidently it embraces its identity. It blends heavy supernatural action with bold fan service without trying to hide either. At the same time, it builds a surprisingly detailed power system, faction politics, and long-running character development. Issei is not just comic relief. He grows stronger, more strategic, and more emotionally invested in protecting the people around him. That mix of over-the-top ecchi elements and serious battle storytelling is exactly why it became one of the most recognizable and commercially successful ecchi franchises in anime history. At number 1, we have Golden Boy. This 1995 6-episode OVA follows Kentaro Oi, a 25-year-old traveling student who moves from job to job across Japan, claiming he is studying life. On the surface, he appears foolish and perverted, constantly chasing women and getting himself into embarrassing situations. But underneath that goofy exterior, Kentaro is intelligent, adaptable, and surprisingly capable, often solving serious problems in unconventional ways. What makes Golden Boy special is its balance of adult humor and genuine character writing. It pushes boundaries with bold, uncensored moments typical of 90s OVAs, yet it never feels empty. Each episode blends comedy, satire, and surprisingly heartfelt lessons about growth and ambition. That combination of outrageous ecchi comedy and smart storytelling is why it remains one of the highest rated and most respected adult-leaning anime classics ever made. And that was our countdown of the most uncensored anime that pushed censorship to its absolute limit. Some of these shocked the industry, some divided entire fan bases, and some somehow became cult classics despite all the controversy surrounding them. Whether you watch them for the story, the chaos, or just to see how far anime can really go, one thing is clear, these series were never meant to play it safe. Now I want to know your take. Which one surprised you the most, and did any of them deserve their reputation? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this bold list, make sure you subscribe to Anime Dungeon for more deep dives into the side of anime most channels won't touch.